Hello dear students, today we are going to start class 10 history chapter 4 the making of a global world part 4. Students, in this part we will cover introduction, rinderpest or cattle plague, indentured labor, migration from India. Students, let us see what we have discussed in previous part. As we have seen the role of technology, in that we have discussed that the railways, steamships, the telegraph, they made the globalization faster and easier. They changed the social and economic life of the people. As we have seen that refrigerated ships were invented, and because of that the people, they started getting cheap food products that led to peace and harmony in the society. Because with the help of refrigerated ships, now animals were slaughtered and then they were taken to the different destinations. It was easier to transport meat from the refrigerated ships, which enabled the transport of perishable foods over long distances. Students, we have also discussed late 19th century colonism. In that, as better living conditions promoted social peace within the country and support for imperialism abroad. As inside the country, when there was peace and harmony, the European powers, they started thinking outside. They wanted to expand their areas. They wanted to get more and more resources for the development of their country. So they started thinking about imperialism so that they can expand their region of control. Trade flourished and markets expanded in the late 19th century. But this was not only a period of expanding trade and increased prosperity. It is important to realize that there was a darker side of this process. As we have discussed about that colonialism was having two aspects. One was positive, another was negative. It was having one brighter side, on the other hand it was having a darker side. On the brighter side, we can see the expansion of trade and a closer relationship with the world economy. But on the other side, people, they lost freedom and livelihoods. They were exploited because of colonialism. Later we have seen that Africa was divided among the European powers. The borders demarcated their respective territories. In 1885, the big European powers met in Berlin to compete the carving up of Africa between them. The countries those were involved in colonialism, they divided Africa in 1885 as their respective territories. That demarcation is known as paper partition. Britain and France made vast additions to their overseas territories in the 19th century. As Britain and France, they made many colonies. Those were vast additions to their overseas territories in 19th century. Belgium and Germany became new colonial powers. As the trend was going on of colonialism, Belgium and Germany, they were also making their colonies. The US also became a colonial power in the late 1890s by taking over some colonies earlier held by Spain. Now in this part, we will look at the examples of the destructive impact of colonialism on the economy and livelihoods of the colonized people. Students, as we have seen that globalization is the interconnectedness between the countries for different purposes, for trade, for culture, for services, and many other purposes. But disease is also spreading because of globalization. Here we will talk about rinderpest, that is called cattle plague. It is also known as cattle plague. In Africa in 1890s, a fast spreading disease of cattle plague or rinderpest had a terrifying impact on people's livelihood and the local economy. Now let us know what is rinderpest. Students, rinderpest is an acute viral disease of cattle and buffalo. It is also called cattle plague. All domestic and most wild ruminants are susceptible to the disease. This disease was spread in Africa in 1890s. It was considered to be the most devastating epidemic to hit southern Africa in the late 19th century. So students, it was an epidemic for the animals. Here we will see the impact of rinderpest. What was the impact of rinderpest on the economy and livelihood of Africa, of African people? Livelihood of African people. It shows how in this era the conquest, even a disease affecting cattle, reshaped the lives and fortune of thousands of people and their relations with the rest of the world. Students, rinderpest created a circumstances that is favorable for the European powers, that is to colonize Africa. It was helpful for them to make Africa their colony. It changed the lives of the people, the fortunes of thousands of people in Africa. Historically, Africa had abundant land and a relatively small population. For centuries, land and livestock sustained African livelihoods, and people rarely worked for a wage. In late 19th century Africa, there were few consumer goods that wages could buy. If you had been an African possessing land and livestock, and there was plenty of both, you too would have seen little reason to work for a wage. Students, African people mainly they were doing cattle rearing, and they were not interested in other works. They were not doing any work for the wages because they were having sufficient livestock and they were dependent on those livestock for their income. Hardly they were doing any other work. So mainly they were doing cattle rearing. In the late 19th century, Europeans were attracted to Africa due to its vast resources of land and minerals. And European powers, they wanted to acquire that place, that is to get more resources. Impact of rinderpest on livelihood and local economy of Africa in 1890s. Students, as we were talking about that in the late 19th century, Europeans were attracted to Africa due to its vast resources of land and minerals. European powers, they wanted to acquire all the resources of Africa. Those were mainly land and minerals. They were attracted because of these resources and they wanted to capture that place. Europeans came to Africa hoping to establish plantation and mines to produce crops and minerals for export to Europe. Europeans' main intention was that is to use the resources of other countries and make their own profit. In that search, they came to India also, that is to use more and more resources of India. In the same way, they were using the resources of Africa. There they wanted to do plantation and mining work, that is to export to Europe. But there was an unexpected problem, a shortage of labor willing to work for wages. As they wanted to do plantation and mining work, but for these works there was need to hire more workers. There was shortage of workers, those willing to do work for wages, because African people were not interested in doing the work for wages because they were dependent on livestock. Employees, Employers used many methods to recruit and retain labor. Heavy taxes were imposed which could be paid only by working for wages on plantations and mines. As African people were not ready to do work for Britishers in plantation and mining, so employers, they were using different methods to train them for the work. They applied many policies to make them work them, under the Britishers. Heavy taxes were imposed which could be paid only by working for wages on plantation and mines. One strategy they applied, that heavy taxes were imposed on African people so that forcefully they will do the work for wages and to pay the taxes. They wanted that forcefully they will do work in plantation and mines. Inheritance law was changed so that peasants were displaced from land. Only one member of a family was allowed to inherit land, as a result of which the others were pushed into the labor market. Mine workers were also confined in compounds and not allowed to move about freely. Students, Britishers, they applied many policies to recruit African people in plantations and mines. They imposed heavy taxes on those people so that forcefully they will do work in plantation and mines to get wages and to pay taxes. They imposed inheritance law also, in that only one member of a family was allowed to inherit land, and result of which the others were pushed into the labor market. Only one person was allowed to take the property, that was land. Others were becoming propertyless, they were not having any property, they became helpless, and they were pushed into the labor market. Mine workers were also confined in compounds and not allowed to move about freely. And those, they went to do work in plantation and mines, they were not allowed to move freely anywhere. Now here we will discuss the impact of Rinderpest. After these policies, then came Rinderpest, a devastating cattle disease. that made the life of the people worst. After these policies, the disease came, that was cattle plague, that made the life worst to the African people. Students, rinderpest arrived in Africa in the late 1880s. It was carried by infected cattle imported from British Asia to feed the Italian soldiers invading Eritrea in East Africa. Entering Africa in the east, rinderpest moved west like forest fire. As it was infectious disease, so it was spreading very fast like forest fire. It was carried by infected cattle imported from British Asia to feed the Italian soldiers invading Eritrea in East Africa. As before the refrigerated ships, we have seen that live animals were transported to the market, to the meat market. So, in the same way, the live animals were sent to Africa, that is to feed the Italian soldiers invading Eritrea in East Africa, and those animals were infected from the disease, that is rinderpest, and it spread very fast in Africa. Atlantic coast in 1892. Then came rinderpest, a devastating cattle disease. Students, in 1880s, rinderpest arrived in Africa. In the late 1880s, rinderpest arrived in Africa. Students, it was a devastating cattle disease. It was carried by infected cattle imported from British Asia to feed the Italian soldiers invading Eritrea in East Africa. Students, as we have seen, before the invention of refrigerated ships, animals were shipped live to different places and then slaughtered when they arrived there. So, animals, as they were taken to different places and those animals were live animals, they carried infectious disease on them, and then they spread these disease in different places. So here we are talking about Africa. It spread in Africa. These animals were imported from British Asia to feed the Italian soldiers invading Eritrea in East Africa. Entering Africa in the east, rinderpest moved west like forest fire. As it was infectious animal disease, it spread very fast. Reaching Africa's Atlantic coast in 1892, it reached the Cape, that is Africa's southernmost tip, 5 years later. Along the way, rinderpest killed 90% of the cattle. As it was spreading very fast, it killed at least 90% of the cattle in Africa. The loss of cattle destroyed African livelihoods. Planters, mine owners, and colonial governments now successfully monopolized what scarce cattle resources remained. It was a favorable circumstances for the European, that is to subdue Africa. Whatever the animals remained, it was taken by the European powers. So in this way, the people of Africa, they lost their livelihoods and freedom also, because they were dependent on livestock and 90% of the cattle were killed by the cattle plague. So they became helpless, and that circumstances made them work into the labor market. Control over the scarce resource of cattle enabled European colonizers to conquer and subdue Africa. In this way, Europeans were able to conquer and subdue Africa. Easily, they made the African people work under them in plantation and mines. So it was favorable for the European, not for the African people. Let us once recall the contents. Rinderpest refers to the cattle plague in Africa in 1890s. The disease showed that how during this era of conquest even a disease affecting cattle reshaped the life and fortune of thousands of people. The infected cattle was imported from British Asia into Africa to feed Italian soldiers. The following were the impact of rinderpest on people's livelihood and the local economy in Africa. It destroyed nearly 90% of the livestock. It destroyed the livelihood of the natives. Many owners and colonial powers benefited by it as they monopolized what scarce cattle resources remained, and Africa ceased to be a free continent. So in this way they were able to make Africa their colony, that is to use the resources of that place, use the people of that place in the labor market. So the rinderpest was helpful for the European people, but it made the life of African people worse. Because of this, they lost their livelihood, they lost their freedom also. Indentured labor migration from India. Student, indentured labor is a new system of slavery. Indentured labor is a bonded labor under contract to work for an employer for a specific amount of time to pay off his passage to a new country of home. Students, in this system, the laborers were taken to different countries, that is to take work from them on the basis of some contract. They were getting minimal wages there and they had to work under harsh conditions. The example of indentured migration from India also illustrates the two-sided nature of the 19th century world. It was indentured labor migration from India. Students, indentured labor, a bonded labor under contract to work for an employer for a specific amount of time to pay off his passage to a new country or home. Here we will talk about a new system of slavery, that was indentured labor. Indentured labor is a bonded labor who is hired on contract for a specific employer for a specific period of time. Students, as colonization were taking place by the European powers, as they were making different colonies, they wanted to use more and more resources. Then they required more workers, and they were taking the workers to these destinations on some contract. They were taking these workers as bonded laborers. These workers had to do work in harsh conditions and they were getting minimal wages there. The example of indentured labor migration from India also illustrates the two-sided nature of the 19th century world. It was a world of faster economic growth as well as great misery. It was beneficial for one section, but it was a great misery to the other section. As Europeans were making profit, so it was beneficial for them, and it was a misery for the bonded laborers because they had to work in harsh conditions. They were beaten there, they were tortured there. That is to do more work to the plantation and mines. Higher incomes for some and poverty for others, technological advances in some areas, and new forms of conscience in others. That was insistence in others. Students, as we have seen, it was a world of fast economic growth as well as great misery, higher incomes for some and poverty for others. In the 19th century, hundreds of thousands of Indian and Chinese laborers went to work on plantations, in mines, and in road and railway construction projects around the world. They were taken by the European powers to different places, that is to do work in plantation, in mines and roads and railways construction. In India, indentured laborers were hired under contracts which promised return travel to India after they had worked for 5 years on their employer's plantation. Students, they were taken on contract so that for that specific period they had to work there. Gradually in India, cottage industries declined, land rents rose, land were cleared for mines and plantations. All this affected the life of the poor. They failed to pay their rents, became indebted, and were forced to migrate in search of work. Because of British policy, our economy declined. Gradually in India, cottage industries declined, land rents rose, Britishers were taking more taxes from the Indian people. Lands were cleared for mines and plantation. Many people they became jobless. All this affected the lives of the poor. They failed to pay their rents, became indebted, and were forced to migrate in search of work. Students, Britishers, they had taken advantage of these conditions of the people, and they were taking these people to different destinations. That is to take work from them on minimal wages. 19th century indentured has been described as a new system of slavery. Students, the main destinations of Indian indentured migrants were Caribbean islands, Trinidad, Guyana, Suriname, Mauritius, Fiji, and Ceylon and Malaya. To these places they were sent. Historically, Africa had abundant land and a relatively small population. African people were also taken to different places. But here we are talking about the indentured labor migration from India. Students, recruitment was done by agents engaged by employers and paid a small commission. Many migrants agreed to take up work hoping to escape poverty or oppression in their home villages. Agents were engaged by the employers and they were searching the people, those they were searching work. Many migrants agreed to take up work hoping to escape poverty or oppression in their home villages. As They were under the indebtedness, they were not having jobs. So they hope that if they will go with them, they will get some work and they will improve their situation. Agents also tempted the prospective migrants by providing false information about final destinations, mode of travel, the nature of the work, and the living and working conditions. All the informations were wrongly given to the migrants. False informations were given to them about the destination, mode of travel, the nature of the work, and living and working conditions. About these issues, the false informations were given by the agents to the migrants. They told that they will get good income, the working condition is very good, the mode of travel they told that was also defined in a very good way to the migrants. In this way, the migrants were easily becoming victims of them. Often, migrants were not even told that they were to embark on a long sea voyage. Sometimes, agents even forcefully abducted less willing migrants. Sometimes, on the behalf of migrants, they were taken, and sometimes forcefully they were taken to the different destinations. Students, on arrival at the plantations, laborers found conditions to be different from what they had imagined. As false informations they got, on arrival at the plantation, laborers found conditions to be different from what they had imagined. Living and working conditions were harsh, and there were few legal rights. So the workers were doing work under pressure. But workers discovered their own way of surviving. Many of them escaped into the wilds, though if caught they were faced severe punishment. Others developed new forms of individual and collective self-expression, blending different cultural forms, old and new. In Trinidad, the annual Muharram procession was transformed into riotous carnival called Hose for Imam Hussein, in which workers of all races and religions joined. As people, they were from different countries, they got together, they found new ways for the entertainment in those harsh conditions. Similarly, the protest religion Rastafarianism made famous the Jamaican star Bob Marley, is also said to reflect social and cultural links with the Indian migrants to the Caribbean chutney music, popular in Trinidad and Guyana. In another creative contemporary expression of the post indentured experience. These forms of cultural fusion are part of making of the global world where things from different places get mixed. As people from different countries, they brought different cultures with them, and all that mixed there, lost their original characteristics and become something entirely new. And they formed a new system, they formed a new culture there. That was a fusion of different cultures, language, traditions. Students most indentured stayed on after their contracts ended or returned to their new homes after a short spell in India. Consequently, there are large communities of people of Indian descent in these countries. Some of the workers they returned to their homelands, but some of the workers they stayed on after their contracts ended. They became the native of that country. Have you heard of Nobel Prize winning writer V.S. Naipaul? Some of you may have followed the exploits of West Indies cricketers Shivnarayan Chandrapal and Ramnaresh Sarwan. If you have wondered why their names sound vaguely Indian, the answer is that they are descended from indentured labor migrants from India. So, students, the workers, as they went to do work as bonded labor there, after the contract, they not came to their own country. They stayed there and lived there only. They became the native of that country. From 1900s, India's nationalist leaders began opposing the system of indentured labor migration as abusive and cruel. It was abolished in 1921. So, in this way, it was abolished. Let us recall the issue of indentured labor. 19th century indentured has been described a new system of slavery. Living and working conditions of indentured labor was harsh and few legal rights were granted to them. Laborers assimilated themselves with the culture of the new place. In Trinidad, the annual Muharram procession was transformed into a riotous carnival called Hosey, in which workers of all races and religion joined. Chutney music, popular in Trinidad and Guyana, in another creative contemporary expression of the post-indentured experience. Indentured labor migration was abolished officially in 1921. Indian entrepreneurs abroad. Students, growing food and other crops for the world market required capital. Large plantations could borrow it from banks and markets, but what about the humble peasants? Students, as production was increasing, there was need of more capital. Those were large plantations, they were getting loans from the banks and markets. But there was a problem for the humble peasants. So, enter the Indian banker. Shikaripuri Shroffs and Natu Kotai Chettiar were among the many group of bankers and traders who financed export agriculture in Central and Southeast Asia using their own funds or the borrowed money from European banks. They were doing the help of the humble peasants. They were providing loans to them. Sometime using their own funds or sometime borrowed money from the European banks. They were helping the small peasants. They had a sophisticated system to transfer money over large distances and even develop indigenous forms of corporate organization. Students, Hyderabadi Sindhi traders, however, ventured beyond European colonies. From 1860s, they established flourishing emporia at busy ports worldwide, selling local and imported curios to tourists whose numbers were beginning to swell. Thanks to development of safe and comfortable passenger vessels. They had established emporia stalls at busy ports worldwide, selling local and imported artifacts to tourists. So in this way, these entrepreneurs they were helping the humble peasants. In the last, test your progress. Students, some questions are given here. Let us see these questions and you just try to answer these so that you can check your understanding. What is Rinderpest? 19th century indenture had been described as new system of slavery. Elucidate with example. How did various cultures blended with the migrants and the inhabitants? What was the role of Indian entrepreneurs abroad? So students, these are the questions. Thank you.